All right, hello everyone. Welcome along to Chargers TV. We are coming to you in a podcast version this week, once again, just because we're so busy and there's a lot of changes happening around the place as well too. JB, my sparring partner, as per usual, welcome along.
Good to be back, Ronnie. Of course, we are same time, same place again, except this time we've got the comfort of a bit more soundproofing here at Swisher Hoops, thanks to the team there, and of course Kate and Anthony at UTAS as well, hooking us up very nicely there. And, well, Ronnie, it's sort of take two for round two for us. We did try and get something sorted earlier in the week, but
my word,
technical difficulties have brought us to the podcast once again, but we're going to be able to get an episode out. Of course, a big weekend of hoops just gone and an even bigger one coming up.
Absolutely, and currently at the moment, I think round two is in full swing at the moment. There are a lot of midweek games happening in the Mitsubishi Motors NBL1 South competition as well too, so plenty happening, and you can always tune in by the NBL1 website or the NBL1 app. We'll get that a bit more of a plug a little bit later on in the show. But for your McKay Timber Hobart Chargers, they were in Launceston and Ulverston respectively. Let's open it up with the women's game, JB. You were there courtside helping the Launceston broadcast crew with their call of the game. You've got the results right there in front of you.
Yes, I do. Of course, final results were in favour of your McKay Timber Hobart Chargers. Of course, McKay Timber are on board. Naming rights for the 2024 NBL1 South season, brought to you by Mitsubishi Motors. Final scores, Ronnie, 71-62 in favour of Hobart, and it wasn't done easily despite what the score sheet and the box score reflects there. Kayla Steindl leading the way, 26 points, 16 rebounds. She put on a defensive clinic as well. 3 steals, 2 blocks, plenty of altered shots there as well. Zoe Richards in her first game, 14 points, 9 rebounds, 2 steals. She was a very nice combination there, which we'll get into in a second. Sierra Walker, double digits as well. 10 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, less than 48 hours off the plane. And, of course, you had Zoe Banks chipping in with 8 points, 5 points to Coco Aaron, 4 points to Claire Murray, 4 points to Alex Finlayson. Leah Bartlett still plugging away as well. 6 boards in her time on the court, although limited, still had a pretty decent impact. And honestly, Ronnie, that first quarter, Launceston, and this is the words of Dwayne Davey and the words of Kayla Steindl, Launceston threw the first punch, and it was a hell of a punch. It was pretty rough, in fact, 22-19 in favour of the Tawns in that first quarter. And even in that second quarter there, they ended up getting a 23-13 jump, led by double digits at the half. Kayla Steindl less than impressed there in the second term, audibly frustrated, visually frustrated. I myself on the broadcast made it sure that when I was giving that timeout report that I was very much behind the bleachers and over on the Launceston side. I did not want to be within earshot. Fair to say, Kayla heavily motivated, team heavily motivated. And I know, speaking to Dwayne Davey at halftime, they really had that come to Jesus talk of, really? Do we really want to start our season and set the ground off like this? Like, are we going to make our bed and lie in it, essentially? And the Chargers just come out with a massive right hook of their own. 23-9 the third term, 16-8 in the fourth quarter. A nice rally by Launceston there late. Really tried to put the sting in, but it was just a change in aggression, physical play, taking the most of their options, pressing up defensively, seeing the second side of the offensive side of the ball, and defensively just really blitzing, really getting involved. Of course, on the other side of things for Launceston, you had Macy Crawford, 15 points, 7 rebounds, 11 points to Ava McDonald, who had a small injury concern there, 10 to Shana Appleby, 7 to Josie Pinkerton, who we've seen a bit of this year already, Ronnie, running around with the UBL. Lily O'Neill in her debut had 8 points for Launceston, bit of a twisted knee, so a couple of banged up bodies there for the Tawns, and Amber Brasendale with 3 points as well. It was, a real tough fight. Dwayne Davey obviously aware of the importance. First time the team's been 1-0 in 5-6 seasons. I think the last time that they were 1-0, Dwayne was coaching, and that was back when we were out at the Derwent Entertainment Centre. So it's been quite a time there. Kayla Steindl pretty happy with the grit and grind of the team overall. But a real big litmus test, obviously, travelling up the road, going to Launceston 4 hours, coming back from Launceston 4 hours, and heading into a doubleheader at home this weekend. So massive result for Hobart. They've got to be happy with that. Those highlights playing in the background there as well. They'll have Waverley and Dandenong across the weekend. Ronnie, on the other side of things, though, you made the trek to Ulverston, up to the Mazda BT Thunder Stadium, with Connor Westwood. Very big shout out to Connor.
Yes, thanks to Connor for giving me a ride up and back. Greatly appreciated. It just goes to show I still get along with the referees, JB.
Yeah, it's going all right there, Ronnie, for sure. Very big thank you to Connor. And, of course, on the other side of things, just touching on the women's team as well. Good to see Idle and Aaron up there. Good to see the coaches and good to see, albeit a smaller crowd, still some nice support there for the girls as well. But back to the men there, Ronnie. You did travel to the northwest. You were up in enemy territory. You were doing a little bit of everything, as you always do.
Always.
How did you see the game? I'll pass it over to you, and
yes.
We'll get the breakdown of our men's game.
Absolutely. Well, being in Alveston, it was great. It was a sellout crowd. Scott Roth, the championship-winning coach for the Jack Jumpers, was in attendance by half-time and got pretty much a people's welcome and reception as well too, as he brought the trophy along with it. So there was a little bit of happy vibes around the building. And
yes, he was in Launceston briefly as well.
He
and
was.
The crowd was going banana. There's no doubt about
Absolutely. that. And a bit more of a happier vibe too, with the Northwest Thunder getting the win in this one, 85-61 over your McKay Timber Hobart Chargers. Well, let's quickly go through the top scorers before I break down the game a little bit. The new import for the Northwest Thunder looks great and can shoot the ball at a really good clip. This is Seth Swalb. He had 17 points, 2 rebounds, and 8 assists, though. Was certainly a playmaker, that was for sure. And then on the other side of that, Paul Campbell, the veteran of that Northwest Funded team, awesome double-double by him, 18 points and 11 rebounds. And then Jake Afoa, who plays with Somerset locally in the NWBU competition, from Melbourne originally, had 15 points and 8 rebounds as well too. For your McKay Timber Hobart Chargers, it was Jacob Richards, the captain, putting in a captain's performance. 28 points, 10 rebounds and 4 assists. He played absolutely massively, played about, over 3/4 of that game, and certainly was putting his heart, sweat and soul into it all. Zach White had 13 points, 2 rebounds and 4 assists. Cho Chilcott had 5 points, 5 rebounds and 4 assists as well too. The big out though pre-game, JB,
massive out, might I add.
Yes,
about 6'10" of him.
Yeah. And I tell you what, that's the most pale I've ever seen him. Ollie Angerstein was out. He tried to get through the warm up. I believe he was throwing up pre-game as well too, which wasn't great. We got through to the national anthem as you do with the whole thing, and then Anthony Stewart made the call and just said, "No, go get back in the car with your family back to Hobart and rest up." So that was a big out. So having Ollie, not having Ollie, that is a big out. But a commendable effort by McKay Timber Hobart Chargers. I thought for the first half they did a really good job of sticking with it. They were really locked in at both ends of the floor. I felt like at times the Thunder were just hitting their shots on good looks and really just getting into the groove of things. I felt like the Thunder seemed more together as a group, where Anthony Stewart mentioned in today's broadcast, commentating alongside me in UBL, he's only had practically 3 hours with an entire group. So when you think about that for a second, well, I think in most cases you put the Thunder as red-hot favourites to take the game, which they did, because in the third quarter they just amped up their defensive intensity and really just took Hobart to storm. And
you
Hobart
mentioned at that 3/4 time huddle, a really crucial line coming out of the Thunder camp.
Yeah, I was just about to get to that, because Hobart had real no response and their shots weren't dropping, and you could just see the confidence in the body language just going down, and you could see Anthony Stewart just kind of, I'm not sure if Anthony Stewart looked a bit tired or whatnot, but Stewie's, sometimes we'll see Stewie very animated and very fired up. I just don't think we saw that in him last week. But we get to 3/4 time, I'm around the whole broadcast crew with Coley and Sturs and Deb and Michael Lynch, who do a fantastic job up there, and they always lean on me for some assistance when I'm always up on the northwest coast. And heard Trey Armstrong say, "They're done. They are done. It's over." And it was just like, when I heard that, I'm like, he's right.
You're a long way back up against the wall trying to fight back from that.
Absolutely. So I thought, Hobart did try and make a run late and made a run, early in the fourth and trying to make a game of it, but the Thunder were way too strong. And I feel like for Anthony Stewart and his team, it's like, They need that other import to come in ASAP. But they need Ollie back. Ollie is an integral part of this team, don't get me wrong. And when you take Ollie out of that team, makes it tougher. But again, with any Anthony Stewart side that he puts on the floor, there's always going to be something. I think any given night, if they're on, there's definitely something there. So for me, it's not all doom and gloom. It's just one game. So this week they've got a really good chance in the doubleheader to really try and get one back. I'm hoping at all this week, and we hope to get at some stage we'll get to.
There's plenty of content coming. We're definitely going to be getting to training at some particular stage.
But I'm hoping though, JB, that they have most of their team there, or the majority. I mean, they're really only missing one player, which is Terrell Brown, who needs to come in from Norway. And the Thunder have the same situation as well too, JB. They have an import also in that league, same as Terrell Brown, so they're waiting for him to come back. But you can already tell that the Thunder are 1-2 steps ahead.
Yeah,
but
really good call.
Yeah, absolutely. But when I look at that, and I'll wrap this up now because we're only a podcast.
We're anyway, cruising.
Yeah, but when I look at it as well too, you got the youngsters here getting court time as well too. So your Jordan Walkers, your Archie Stewarts, your Brooklyn Bruins, your Jordan Strasmus, Alex Bestwick, who made his debut in NBL1 South. Caleb Nash, NBL. You got 1, 2.
You've got players that are playing their very first minutes or have only played limited minutes prior. We're not talking about guys that have played 4 years of American college. We're not talking about guys who have played pro for an extended period. At this level, this is the first time they've been there. So this is a real, hey, we're going to throw you in the deep end and you're going to learn to swim or tread water at the very worst.
Absolutely. And I thought it was great for those youngsters to really get up and in and get that taste of what the NBL1 South is. So for me, this promising sign with our youngsters, it was just, I suppose Joe Chilcott's still trying to get used to what's going with the systems here.
Daniels.
Same with Vionte,
And that's a hard thing for them too, because you also have to consider the scout that goes in from a Northwest Thunder perspective. We've got an entire season of film that's ours.
Yes.
We know you know how to run our playbook, but we know your habits. We know your tendencies.
Yep.
It becomes just as easy to scout the other way.
Absolutely. So, look, I expect a bounce back win in either one of these games coming up this week, and I'm quietly confident with that. And really looking forward to what the Chargers men's side can do. And but Dandenong and Waverley are no easy beats by any stretch of the means, and we'll get into that very shortly. So I think for the Chargers, just have a good week out on the training floor and hopefully keep improving. For Stewie, it has been these slow starts, but he's had this saying for a while, it's not how you start,
it's how you finish.
It's how you finish.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's something that our women's team are probably going to channel a bit too, Ronnie, just to sort of wind back on on that first round before we go into the next round. It took a half of basketball for our women's team to warm up. And when you look at how that third quarter played with high-low action, with, as I mentioned, hitting those corner shooters, second side, hitting the dribble, hitting the dump off, getting used to one another, because that's one thing I will credit Launceston. Yeah, they're a young local team, but they've played together for a while. They've got that chemistry. Someone like Sierra Walker's only been with the team for less than 2 days. Zoe Richards, new to the system. You've got someone like a Chloe Broomhall. All of a sudden, you don't have that rotation. There wasn't the ability, for example, for a Pia Rhodes to be able to come back in. She's been out with injury. There's a good corner shooter that comes into play as well. You see someone like a Claire Murray who's getting minutes. Leah was in a little bit of foul trouble. She wasn't able to get on as much as she wanted to. So there's still some chemistry issues coming with the women's team. They've probably got a bit of a stronger base looking at it at the moment. They've also still got the import to come in there in Jada. She's still to arrive for the team. Chloe Broomhall, as I mentioned, didn't play state duties there, so it hasn't been one of those things where Chloe becomes either that first sub, that first rotation, so to speak, and it's like, hey, Chloe, go and get us 10 and 10, which she's able to do.
Oh, my word.
Someone like an Andy Smith, who was at national duties as well. Well, not national duties, she's on state duties.
Yes.
But she's on that national radar.
Oh, my word.
You don't have that kind of talent come down the pike very often, so there's another player that's not quite, wasn't back in the team. Someone like an Eva Schultz as well, who's now back in the program, or will certainly work their way into the program. So there's still a couple of players, still a few things ticking along with the women's team as well. And as you mentioned though, Ronnie, it isn't how you start, it's how you finish. That was significant in the women's game. But it is just a matter of, hey, wait until the teams get there. Wait until you get your imports in for 3 weeks, until they've shot the ball, until they've got used to the gym, until they've got used to the system. Your game's going to look a lot stronger. And as you mentioned there in the men's, same sort of situation. Wait until you get a full team. Wait until everyone's used to it. Because as you mentioned with Ollie, do I think Ollie necessarily makes up 16 points from a defensive standpoint? Not really, but you're also guaranteed 10 and 10.
Yes.
And the defensive presence and the altering of shots. So does that game look different? Don't know. Do I think that if you have a Chloe Broomhall in with a bit more Sierra Walker with time under the belt there, do I think that game looks different again? And do I think Hobart control 4 quarters? Absolutely. But that was round 1. As you mentioned, got to move on to round 2. Mental health round. So it's
it is.
Massive, massive round from an importance standpoint. But it's also a massive round in the sense it's the home opener. Friday night at Creek Road.
Yes.
And not only that, we are spoiling the folk out on the Eastern Shore over in Sorell.
Absolutely.
To a Saturday night super clash, essentially, as well. There's a heap of basketball to come.
There is. And before we dwell into that, we'll plug the social media because we'll have a bit of stuff out prior to those game days.
A lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. So you can give us a like on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel as well too. And you can give us a follow on Instagram. And I've got that around the wrong way, but that's okay, JB.
Like and
that's
follow.
okay.
Get amongst the socials.
Just get amongst the socials. Keep up to date with all the goings on here for your McKay Timber Hobart
100%.
Chargers. Now, let's dwell into Round two. You talk about mental health round. It is mental health round, and we'll have. I'm sure we're going to have some facts and whatnot that we'll read out on broadcast, along with a script read as well too, which I again need to forward to you, JB.
Thank you.
Yes.
I think I've heard part of that the other night. It sounds like it should be an interesting one.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, you would have probably heard it on the Lonnie broadcast.
Yes.
So there you go. So that's what we need to get to you. And also team lists as well too. The team lists have come through for both the clubs coming down. Friday night we have Dandenong 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock at the Hobart Netball and Sports Centre. And JB, well, let's delve into the women's here first off. And the women haven't been the women's side for Dandenong haven't done too badly. And they're going to be tough. Hobart are coming off a really good second half and have, finally got where they wanted to be, hopefully. But there's no easy games in the NBL1 in the Mitsubishi Motors NBL1 South this season.
Absolutely, there's not, and it's going to be a matter of Hobart playing to that elite level. You mentioned they're taking on the Rangers on the Friday night. Women at 6, men at 8. We will be on air from 5:55 to start the evening.
Oh, you betcha.
The women, and 7:55 for the men. Honestly, I think the big highlight there is that second half is what's going to be crucial to build momentum for our women's team.
Yeah.
They can't be trying to run isolation. They can't be trying to run give and go all the time, or, for lack of a better term, their motion offense up the top there. They've got two huge pillars there in Richards and Steindl. Steindl is an MVP candidate player. Kayla Steindl, if she really wanted to, for me, would walk into the WNBL. Zoe Richards has the same capabilities. Sierra Walker's going to have a week under her belt. Now, the question you have is probably depth on your bench. Yep. Is a Chloe Broomhall going to be back? Probably not at this stage.
They're just in about the finals stages. But their finals are not till Saturday, so they'll miss this week as well.
Yeah, so all of a sudden, there's one player that's not going to be about, who's not going to be available. That's a massive rotation. You lose that double-double there. And the reason I say that is because it is going to be as crucial for your starters to have a big weekend as it is for your bench players to have a big weekend, because you're going to need the legs. You're going to need to recover. If you need to get into an ice bath Friday night, if you need to do a light session to stretch the legs on the Saturday, do it. Don't sit there and go, oh, you know what, I'll wait. Prep is their biggest friend right now.
Yeah.
As far as both teams are concerned. It'll be really interesting there. You mentioned there with the Dandenong women. I am just having a look here. Their first game, they defeated, let me have a look here. We're going right back here. Did lose in that first game against Melbourne. Did get the win against Casey in their second game. And Ronnie, I'm seeing here, live right now as we speak.
Oh, yes.
On the Wednesday night, their first game, they are playing Eltham. They are currently in the lead. They're likely going to be 2-1 on the season.
But they're backing up again Friday night.
They're backing up Friday night. And then if I'm not mistaken,
They go up to
backing
Lonnie.
up Saturday. So realistically, the team's going to play tonight. They'll recover tomorrow. Likely jump on a plane Friday. Get here, play Friday night. Get in a car, go out Saturday to play, and then they've got to fly home Sunday.
Yes.
So if you're the Chargers, you're looking at a back-to-back situation. But you're playing, I'm not going to say a vulnerable opponent, but you're certainly going to be playing them at an ideal time.
Correct.
And the last thing you want to do is cough up an opportunity, cough up a situation, purely because they're going to be underdone. We're at home. We've got a second game. These are the situations where you do need to capitalise, because you look later in the season with the Chargers last year, particularly the women's team and the men's as well. Probably, in fact, let's just blanket it, the club itself. There were games and opportunities last year where they really let themselves down, whether they were too casual, whether they just didn't deliver. You have an off night. Everyone has an off night. You shove them to the side. There were too many opportunities last year, both men's and women's, that they certainly didn't capitalise on it. And in not doing that, well, the reason they weren't playing in the postseason. This is probably their first real test for complacency for me. Launceston was a really good test in that first half, and they got absolutely punched in the mouth. And they had to come out and they had to play aggressive. Dandenong, as well as Waverley, and particularly Dandenong, they're going to be a lot tougher. You're not going to be running around and seeing Kayla Steindl playing on someone who's 5'10" all night. It's going to be a different game. They've got to be aggressive. They've got to be ready for the task, but they've also got to be mindful that, hey, we also need to be prepared for Saturday. We can't be complacent. We're playing a team, and that's the other side for Waverley as well. You're going to be playing Dandenong Friday night, who are going to play a game, slight bit of recovery, cramped up on a plane, and then play you. You're also looking at Waverley, who on Friday night are going to be in Launceston,
correct,
and then drive down the highway and play you. For me, a massive opportunity on the weekend right now for our women's team to be 3-0. Don't know whether they can do it. Realistically, back-to-back on the road, you're wanting to split it. At home, though, you want it to be a fortress. I would think internally there's a genuine motivation for this team to be 3-0 at the end of round 2. At that point, the world's your oyster. You've got a lot to work with. You've seen the men's team. We've spoken about who's to come into this side.
Yes.
It's a really young core. Very similar, identical situation there.
Yeah.
In that sense. We're also factoring in for some of our team members, younger ones. They've played a bit of UBL this week.
Yes.
They've got senior basketball this week. But that shouldn't be the excuse for NBL1, because that's what you've got to be ready for. Where do our men sit in that equation as well? For me, it's 2-0 for the women, by the way. They should be 2-0 this weekend. They should be 3-0 by the end of the weekend. And they should really have that famous final F word in their vocabulary going forward.
Absolutely, which they haven't seen since 2018, by the way. 17.
They missed in 18.
Oh, yes, they did. Yes.
They lost to Launceston in 2017 in that elimination final. But they didn't see finals
they
in
didn't see
2018
in
because of
2018.
Launceston in the last round.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you, JB. Yes, correct me if I'm wrong, and that I was.
You won't have to ask me to do that twice.
Absolutely. All right, let's have a look at the men's preview. And, for me, it's making sure that they have a healthy team. Now, to my understanding, Caleb, and I did see this today at UBL, Caleb Nash didn't play. Caleb has been unwell. There's a bit of gastro going around the group, I believe. And, yeah.
What?
Yeah, thanks to...
well, we're not pointing fingers.
But...
oh, no. Oh, dear.
But to my understanding, both players are starting to recover. They are looking to train tomorrow night, and that's when the team will reassemble after probably hitting the floor back on Monday. Now, when we look at the second half of the Chargers, we think, well, not a great effort, because they were outplayed. They were absolutely out. They were rattled because the Thunder had really just come back at them with a big defensive kind of swing. And the first half, though, I felt like was promising. Without Ollie and whatnot, they were still playing some good basketball. They were finding some good looks, trying to get to the rim, make a good shot, but they do miss that big presence of the Wham Bam Jam, thank you ma'am, player in Ollie Engerstein. So hopefully Ollie will be back. He has that presence within the team. The team goes up another notch. I love to see I know Joe Chilcott didn't have the best shooting night, but I'd love to see him bounce back. Same with Viontae Daniels. They can all shoot the ball really well. So if they can hit their shots early and get into a bit of a groove, I feel like we're in with a good chance. Dandenong doing wonders at the moment. They're 2-0 currently at this point in time. I feel they're a top 4 contender with the team they've got, and Sam Woosnam has done a great job with that Dandenong team over the last couple of years, and they're really starting to become something now within the league. So Dandenong are coming back to that team of old I've seen and known for many years in my time in the competition. So tough one Friday night. I expect them to be really competitive on Saturday night. I feel like they can go 1-1. I think Dandenong to get up Friday night for me, and I think they get the one against Waverley on.
Do you think that
Saturday
road trip's a massive factor in the Waverley result?
I would say, yes, but I don't think. I just think for Dandenong right now, I don't think the road trip or the fatigue factor will play too much of a part. If you look at it from a One-Eyed Chargers supporter standpoint, you would hope so. But I think being a realist here, to some degree, I say that with all due respect to everyone, is that I feel like Dandenong right now, one of the form teams in the competition, as much as we're 2 games in, I've seen enough to go, they are top 4 contenders.
They're going to be a problem.
They're going to be a problem. Waverley, I think, are in the middle somewhere, hubbing around that top 8 within... that top 8, probably just, go JB.
What do you call, Ronnie? Well, I know, they're probably between that 7 to 10 range, but they're a gauge team. They're, right, if we're getting the win here, we can play playoffs.
Yep.
If we are struggling against this team, we've got to go back to the drawing board.
Absolutely.
Like they're a real litmus test, a genuine, if you're beating us, you can play playoffs. If you're not competitive or not beating us, wipe your season.
Absolutely. So I'm hoping for Hobart's sake we can go 1-1. If we can pull off a miracle and go 2-0, then something has changed at training, or Stewie has fired a rocket up them that we don't know about. So I'm really hoping the boys bounce back. I really do. And I'll keep a positive kind of mindset with both our sides. We can be overcritical at times, or we can be less critical, or whatnot. But the positive mindset is the women come out and played a really great second half. That sets up good momentum going into the game. The men had a disappointing second half. They need to find something within and find that defensive identity that they need to spark their offensive generation. Stewie knows that they can be a really good team. I just think they need more time together, and that's probably the only part that's lacking at the moment, just having time together. Where we did mention the Thunder team have been together now for a few more weeks than what the Chargers have. So there's that difference. So I'm looking forward to the weekend, JB. I'm looking forward to seeing how both our teams go. I can't wait to call the games with you because we are finally into the real deal. Pre-season is over with the UBL.
Lordy.
So I'm looking forward to it. As you mentioned, we're on air at 5:55 and 7:55 p.m. Where it's us two this week. I'm going to try and bring in a third commentator throughout the year as well too, JB.
Yeah, of course. We found that dynamic really, really nice a couple of seasons ago.
So,
good to get back to that.
So if Chris Simons is listening to this, Chris Simons, you're on my hit list to
hit list.
Hit list. Yeah.
Jeez,
don't worry, he's only president of my local junior club. It's okay.
I don't necessarily know if he's on your hit list how well he'd be able to commentate, based on, being unalive in that situation, Ronnie. But no, it'd be good to have Chris on board, and of course there are plenty of other local basketball identities who
absolutely
been around the traps with that as well. No doubt we'll try and tap into them and sort of bring that broader basketball media connection, Ronnie.
Absolutely, JB. It's great to be finally back in the swing of things at home on Friday night at the Hobart Netball and Sports Centre against the Dandenong Rangers. 6 o'clock tip-off in the women, 8 o'clock tip-off on the men. Yes, JB.
Check your socials for tickets. We will be plugging tickets left, right and centre.
And also, too, don't click on any of the fake live streams that come on board.
If it's not posted from the official account, please don't click on it.
No.
We encourage you to report it as spam, block, all of that sort of stuff. Even, there's only about 4 of us that do admin most of our social media, but we do appreciate when you report the spam, all of that sort of stuff. If it's not coming from the official Chargers Facebook, ignore it. The only way you'll see the game is the NBL1 website, the NBL1 app via NBL1 Plus, which is a free registration, and you can watch the entire league on that app there, Ronnie. So I encourage everyone to get along, get involved. If not, get down to Creek Road.
Absolutely.
Get over to Sorell, support local basketball.
Yes, get your tickets by the Intix. There'll be a link in the description of all this as well too, and we'll make sure we plug it. And of course, I was going to mention any spam links that you do see, we block them. It's blockomania with those spam links. I'm telling you, folks,
More finger wags than Dikembe Mutombo when it comes to spam links.
Absolutely, and of course, Saturday night we make our return to one of the best venues in the state, as far as I'm concerned, JB, the South East Sports Complex in Sorell. We'll be out there for the Waverley Falcons, and also welcoming back former Chargers player Shana Thompson as well too, who will be suiting up for the
Should be shooting
Waverley
on the
women's side.
Oh no, I forgot about that.
Yes. I thought I'd better throw that in.
Dear.
Again, same tip-off times as per Friday night. 6 o'clock in the women, 8 o'clock in the men. Again,
5:55 on air.
Yep, and 7:55. Again, yes, we are looking forward to another big season of Chargers basketball, JB. Obviously, we got a taste of it last week being on the road in Launceston and Ulverston, respectively. But, hey, glad we get to open up round 2 as a home doubleheader, and a couple of busy nights for us.
Very busy nights indeed. Of course, check us out on the socials. Tune into the podcast. Tune into the broadcast. As we've said, Ronnie, we are working through things slowly and steadily. A revolutionary year, I would say, from on and off the floor side of things here for the club. Bear with us, ladies and gentlemen. We are glad to have you along for the ride.
Absolutely. On that note, on behalf of Justin Bryan, I'm Roll Riggs. We will see you Friday night and Saturday night down at Creek Road and Sorell, respectively. Hope you enjoyed this version of the podcast, and we'll see you all again next week.